Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Saturday Night Hockey Show. I am David Valente. Tonight we're doing a pre-recorded podcast. We did it on Thursday night. Travis Rednick is in at the beach somewhere, and I hope he's having a wonderful time. But just wanted to we've got new graphics, a new place to share our podcast on, which is our Facebook group. Saturday Night Hockey Show. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and give that group a like and join it. And that'll be where we're going to be airing our broadcast from here in the near future. Um, One thing we didn't touch on in the broadcast, I did want to touch on a little bit before we go too far or air the recording here. Uh, the NHL signed a television deal with TNT and TBS to broadcast games starting next season. Um, this rounds out the national TV package. If you remember a few weeks ago, the NHL signed a deal with ESPN and the ESPN family of networks. So every other year, the Stanley Cup Final is going to be airing on ABC. And ESPN's doing a whole lot of stuff with the digital marketing, their ESPN3 or Watch ESPN app, where you're going to be able to see a ton of games, like 1,000 games every season. So that's a good deal. I'm not as excited about the TBS TNT deal because it's kind of the same thing with the ESPN deal. With NBC Universal, hockey was kind of the big fish in that package. Well, what they were carrying. Sure, NBC SN started carrying the English Premier League, but those aired at different times. When it came to nighttime broadcasts, they were pretty hockey centric with a lot of their coverage. Both ESPN and TNT TBS are National Basketball Association carriers, so we'll be competing for airtime with those broadcasts as well. Unless TV, I missed something on the NBA side, and TBS and TNT are not going to get the NBA contract if that contract is up for renewal. So I'm concerned for the first time since probably when ESPN started broadcasting hockey, and before Fox got the contract in the late 90s. This will mean that the Stanley Cup Finals will every other year not be on over-the-air broadcast network. So it won't be on an ABC, CBS, NBC. It'll be on TBS or TNT, which is becoming a little less of an issue now because most people do have cable, but a lot of people are cutting, and you're hoping that those cutters will keep a TBS subscription, or whether those games are going to be carried on the Watch ESPN app if they're not over the air broadcast. So that's a concern. You're cutting out a portion of your potential fan base who, a sports fan who will check out the National Hockey League because it's the finals. Now you have to hope that they get it on their cable or get it on the app or what. So, that's the big concern with this one. This is kind of a brave new world. None of the other major sports have gone to a fully off of, except for college football. College football does do ESPN for their national championship game, but uh, none of the major sports have gone off of over the air cable for their championship series. So that's just my concern with that contract. Again, they're going to be competing for airspace with the NBA. NBA airs their games at the same time, so this will be interesting to see how it works out on both ESPN side and the TNT side. So anyway, I really appreciate everyone watching. I'm going to be getting the broadcast from Thursday night started. Remember, it's Thursday night, so we have a couple of things, not exactly timely right now, but we sure hope you appreciate the show. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Saturday Night Hockey Show. We're actually recording this on Thursday night because my man Travis Rednick has places to go and people to do on Saturday night.
Go to the beach.
Going to the
again.
Beach. Lucky bastard.
Again.
Yeah.
I'm like the kid that won't get off the Ferris wheel.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, so it's been a few weeks since we've had an episode. I had the state convention for the Libertarian Party, which knocked out the broadcast 2 weeks ago, and then this
Dave was hungover and he peed rocks, and we're back.
All right, I was not hungover. I was just traveling that day, and I had to break down my entire podcast studio, so I wasn't going to be able to get it back up in time.
Dave was secret hungover.
Common thing for a 48-year-old guy not getting up in time, but
Dave was secret hungover, and then he peed rocks.
Yes, last week.
And he didn't keep it because he told all of us, and we all wanted to see it for some undisclosed reason. And he didn't keep it because he didn't want to put a strainer in the toilet. I don't know. It sounded really bad, and that's why I don't drink soda.
Okay, so here's why. Friday I wasn't feeling too hot, but it wasn't that bad. Saturday, I started feeling awful, and the kidney stone had already moved down into my bladder. And when it doesn't want to go through your bladder into your urethra to pass on out, it is a very painful experience. By
Sunday, he was doubled over in the Sheetz parking lot asking guys for Tylenol.
Yes, I would have if I could have gotten to a Sheetz parking lot. But Sunday night, or actually Monday morning at 2:30 in the morning, it finally passed. And no, I did not want the added indignity of putting a strainer or fishing into a bowl of pee for my blood covered.
See, you know the time, but what was the weight of this little baby?
It was about 5 millimeters. I would just say that.
That's a little over half of a 9 millimeter, and I know how big that is. So,
yeah, it was a lot.
Jeez, it's bad whenever the man starts talking in metric.
I know. American man starts talking in metric. It's bad. But it was not fun. It caused me to cancel all my podcasts last week, and so we're getting back into the swing of things.
I'm so glad that you're back and healthy.
I'm moderately healthy. I'm on antibiotics now, so. But we do have a lot of news to talk about with the NHL this week. So we are rapidly heading down to the end of the season. Most teams are now under 10 games left to play. Except for Vancouver, which is, they still got about 15, I believe.
They're our last 2 games of the season before the postseason.
Yeah,
it's going to be Vancouver.
They're at 43 points.
Actually, the last 4 nights of hockey is going to be all Northern Division games. Yeah,
not surprising. But as we were recording this on Thursday night, they're getting throttled by Toronto. And we'll talk about it when we go review the divisions. But they have an outside shot. The only thing that the schedule is going to really rein them in. Anyway,
it's going to be tough for them from here on out. If they want anything that resembles a chance, they're really going to have to work for it, dude. I would not want to be on Vancouver right now.
15 games, and I think
15 games, and they're all hard games. Everything's
when is the last game. When is the last day of the season for them?
They are the last day of the season. It is going to be the 19th.
Okay, so
the timing is to be decided, but it's Vancouver, Calgary, and actually
that's 15.
The last.
Well, okay.
The last series that we get is going to be Vancouver, Calgary for 3 games, and then right before that, Vancouver plays Edmonton once, and then Vancouver plays Calgary again. They just threw in Edmonton right in the middle of that. I don't know why. It's a kind of weird spot to. They got Calgary, Edmonton, Calgary, which sounds like a conspiracy theory to infect everybody with COVID and keep Edmonton out of the playoffs because McDavid is on fire.
He is. But 14, we've got 14 games in 20 nights. That is a killer schedule. Even if Vancouver goes hot and does make the playoffs, they catch Montreal.
That's more than
anything in the gas.
Most good teams could do that, let alone Vancouver.
Yeah. Vancouver's had suspect defense all year. Their goaltending right now
better.
has been
Better.
hot. They're getting worked tonight by Toronto.
Well, yeah, but look at.
It's
I
Toronto.
mean,
Yeah.
who's going to get? My problem right now is, we need to sound the alarm because Toronto looks like they might not have to be checking for availability at golf courses by the end of May.
I don't know. I mean, they had that run,
nervous.
though. They did have that run, though. Not it's not been this week, but last week, where they're what's his face finally came back down to earth and lost a couple games, and he's been giving up like 5 goals a game. Campbell, if that happens, they don't have the cap space to bring back Frederik Andersen. So if Frederik Andersen is actually healthy and he's being held back for cap reasons, if Campbell, returns to, his pre-10-game winning streak form, then Toronto might be in trouble.
This year has been so hard on goaltenders. There's not a good situation for a goaltender in the National Hockey League right now, and it's really showing. Like Bennington, I figured that Bennington would pick back up this year and perform to some standard. Obviously, he's just frustrated with being alive right now. He doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
Carter Hart, who was looking somewhat decent, is out for the season.
Yeah.
Over was it an undisclosed injury or was it
a strained MCL? Is what?
Okay, which translates to we don't want to break the goaltender. Because we have no shot.
Season's over. Let him get a rest and get ready for next season, which with a shortened off season will, give him a little bit of an advantage.
And then you got Campbell. He's coming back off of it. Drieger is coming back off of it now. They're starting to. And actually, I'm really concerned for Florida. Florida looked so hot, and the closer they get to the end of the season, you can tell those guys are just running out of gas, dude. They're losing right now, or last time, they're losing right now to the Blackhawks 1-0 at 9:14 on this Thursday night. But I'm gunning for the little guy. This is the first time Florida's made the playoffs since Hartford was in the league, right?
I got him. No, Florida made the playoffs a couple of years ago. They just haven't. They haven't won a first round. They haven't gone.
That's what it is. They haven't gone past first round
since it went to the Cup in '96.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a long time to go without making it anywhere in the. I do have it 1-1 in Florida. Chicago.
Mine may not have updated then.
Yeah.
But how about your Sabres right now?
They're doing all right. I mean,
Casey Middlestat and Sam Reinhart have both got goals. It's 2-3 against the Bruins, and the Bruins are kind of wet in the bed. But I mean, so for Buffalo not to's probably a bigger deal than the Bruins to.
Yeah. So the thing with the Sabres right now is that they're not, except for when they played the Rangers the other night, they did get running around their zone. I'm actually watching the game right now. Cooper Rask has made really good saves tonight, but and so is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, greatest name in hockey. Middlestat and Reinhart have really stepped up, and it's been great to see. Especially with Casey Middlestat, if we can get, you get Casey Middlestat stepping up into a prominent role. You develop Dylan Cousins, and then you have Jack Eichel. You've got 3 top flight centermen right there. And that's hopeful for the Sabres. That's more than
a good look.
A month.
It's a really good look. Yeah,
it's better than what we had a month ago. And to think that Casey Middlestat was buried in the minors at the beginning of the season, which honestly he should have been, because he just hadn't developed to the point where he was an NHL body. He is now. If you see him on the ice, he is a stocky kid now.
I mean, it helped him, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, when he was drafted, the thing about Casey Middlestat was, he had only played high school hockey. He had not played NHL or any
he wasn't
top league development. He the thing that made him famous at the draft was that he couldn't do a pull up. They did the combine. He couldn't do a pull up, so that was that was a knock on him, and that kind of dropped his draft stock, and he fell to Buffalo.
Where all the dead stock goes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good to see him turning his career around. Reinhart stepping up. I honestly would love to see him as the captain at some point, or keep him as the alternate. I think Dylan Cousins has got some captain material in him as well. So there, Buffalo has not been playing bad. It's still not great. I mean, we'll be honest. The losing streak ended in March. In April, they were 5-11. So I mean, if they lose this game, 5-12. So not great results overall, but still 5 more wins than they're not going to finish with.
That puts you on par for an expected season out of Detroit. I feel like that's not the worst place you could be.
Yeah,
you could be under an expected season out of Detroit, and that's the worst place you can be.
Well, I mean, we got to within a point of New Jersey a couple of days ago, and for dead last in the league, and New Jersey's managed to win a couple of games. We had a rough go of it against the Rangers, so we're back down. I still anticipate us finishing dead last, which would be great because give me my first overall pick if we can get it. Although I just have no idea who we're going to draft. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the Sabres. I'll be interested to see what happens with Don Granato. Do they keep him as head coach? There has been improvement, but still, again, they're 5-12 this month. Not great, and he lost his first 5 games. So I mean, he doesn't.
Yeah, but look at what he walked into.
Yeah, I know he doesn't have a great record, but that team is playing a whole lot better.
That team is playing on a National Hockey League level, which I didn't expect to see from Buffalo for a few years.
Yeah, exactly. People are not saying, is this a complete rebuild in Buffalo anymore? Is there a lot of moving parts there? Absolutely.
It does make you wonder if it's going to be a total teardown. I think that now, looking at Buffalo, if these guys can keep up at this pace, you might lose a piece or two.
Yeah.
But, I mean, realistically, man, there's a few contracts that need dumped, and after that happens, you guys are pretty well – you're stacked with cap space. You have the space to do a rebuild without dumping what you don't want to dump.
I mean, you're going to have to pay Reinhart this year. You're going to have to pay
absolutely.
You're going to have to pay Darlene this year too, I believe. So I mean, there, when you free up money from say Kyle Okposo who's getting $6 million.
I feel like Buffalo's going to be back on the rebuild whenever they dump one specific guy.
Which one?
The benchmark for Buffalo is whenever Jeff Skinner is gone. I know it's going to be a few years.
Oh, yeah, you're never getting rid of that contract. And, honestly, Skinner's
What's he on, 4? Is he on 4?
Who?
Skinner. How many years?
Oh, it was an 8-year contract.
I don't know why I thought it was 4.
8 by 8. Or 8 by 9, I'm sorry. 8 by 9.
We'll check back in 8 years. Because I feel like that's the curse of Buffalo currently is Jeff Skinner's what's going to hold you down.
You know what? Skinner has been playing better under Granato because I think Granato knows that, play to Skinner's strengths rather than putting him on the 4th line.
There better be some McDavid breakaways or something.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a highlight reel. That guy's going to have to show his worth, and nobody's allowed to help him.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, let's dive into the week or the NHL standings and take a look at. Let me get this screen. All right, Western Division.
Way out west.
The hot and not, and then we're going to talk about potential playoff matchups here. So. In this division, we got 3 teams that have qualified for the playoffs, but that order has not been set. So who do you have as your hot team in the West?
Dude, absolutely. It has to be Minnesota. Did
Really?
you see them? Yeah. Did you see them locking in this quick?
No. I mean, overall, yeah. They're amazing.
Better yet, it's Krill. It has to be Krill.
There's 2 pieces of news, though. I mean, All right, first you're ignoring Vegas is on a 10-game winning streak.
I don't care about Vegas. I
And
expected Vegas to do this.
They handled Colorado very easily the other night.
Vegas is not staying here. Vegas is inflated. They're excited, and they're going to beat the crap out of themselves. They're going to run out before the end of season. They're going to show up to playoffs. They're going to be so gassed, they're not going to know what to do.
So, but at this point, Vegas gets that fourth, and they're 6 points up. Although Colorado does have a game in hand. The problem with Colorado is that, and Colorado is my not hot team because they've dropped 3 in a row, and they lost 2 to St. Louis. They lost pretty handily.
Colorado is playing easy. They're locked in.
They are locked in. But I would have, if I'm Colorado, I want to get out of that 2-3 matchup.
I don't know, dude. Have you watched them play lately, though?
Well, and also look, they're only 1 point ahead of Minnesota at this point, so they could be the road dog on a 2-3 matchup.
Colorado, they're playing slow. They're not playing sloppy. They're just not playing fast. I think that Colorado absolutely.
Well, they're also missing
it out. Yeah, they busted it out trying to get that X. They wanted to get locked in. They got locked in, and the boys are taking a few games off. I don't blame them. I probably want to too, because those guys absolutely humped their way into this.
Oh, they have. I mean, they of the Western teams, Minnesota had the COVID issue early, but Colorado's had 2 bouts of COVID early in the season, and kind of going through it now. So they're missing players. I'm missing Mikko Rantanen on my fantasy team, and Grubauer's out. There's a few players out, so I mean it's not the worst possible thing for them because I'm sure they'll get them back before the playoffs begin. Yeah. It's just that Minnesota is playing well. They're 7-2-1 over the last 10. They are, they're 1 point behind Colorado, and I think home ice may not matter as much with not as many players, not as many fans in the building, but I think it will matter. And
for sure,
if I'm Minnesota, I want that extra home playoff game. Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely. I think that right now the biggest thing to remember about Vegas, Colorado has slowed down. Colorado slowed down on purpose. The 10-game winning streak in Vegas, it was majorly against the Ducks, right?
Yeah.
How do you not win against the Ducks? Who loses to the Ducks right now, especially number one? Other than us.
Yeah.
I mean, Arizona's going to lose to whoever you put in front of them. But, and getting on the topic of Arizona, fire Tocchet.
Really?
Fire Tocchet. I want him gone. I want him gone now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tocchet.
I'm done.
Tocchet is probably the reason why you guys are even in 5th at this point.
That's awesome. I don't want to be in 5th. All right.
Well, I mean, with that roster compared to the other, the only surprise here is Minnesota. Minnesota surprises me, but
I want Tocchet gone. I want Oliver Ekman-Larsson gone. 2 goals on the season.
Yeah, that might happen this summer. But although, trading.
Why is this our captain?
Yeah, with just 2 goals, you may not get that return that you're thinking for him. So
I don't even care. I want like a first 3-round draft pick for 2022.
First 3 rounds, huh?
First 3-round draft pick for 2022 and a first or second for 2023. I think that's reasonable. I think that he could perform somewhere else. He's not going to perform on Arizona. 2 goals on the season.
Yeah.
Why is this our captain? What exactly is going on here that makes him better than our Zamboni driver? Because I feel like he probably has performed to as high of a standard, after games. I mean, this is ridiculous, man. Get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
That has to be the worst C in the league right now.
I had the wrong screen up. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. All right. So, yeah, three teams have qualified. So in a first round matchup, let's just say St. Louis does close out the deal,
And I
and
hope they do. I don't even want to send playoffs.
yeah. So you get Vegas versus St. Louis. St. Louis have been playing a lot better, but they're still wildly inconsistent to me. I mean, they're 6-4-0 in the last 10, but they won 3 in a row. They beat Colorado twice.
The net minding in St. Louis is so confusing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. You look at Vegas, both goaltenders are right at 2. Leonard is at 2.04 goals against, and Fleury is at 2.08 goals against. I've got to give Vegas a heavy. I would bet Vegas on this one. I don't think it goes that deep. I would say 5-6 max on that series. Because Bennington would have to kind of recapture that Stanley Cup magic, and I just don't see it happening.
No, it's not a realistic expectation.
No, and then
Bennington,
I'm all in for that Colorado-Minnesota series, though.
Bennington performed to such a high standard in that 1 year. Whenever everybody else did, everybody else went above and beyond the call of duty to pull out that cup.
Yep.
Bennington, I think that style of play, how hard he played, was unsustainable to begin with. And he did what they asked of him. He gave him a cup, and then everybody said, okay, do it again.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he got the money he wanted. He deserves that for the first cup that he got, But
they're going to be paying for that for a long time.
They are, but, I mean, what's it worth to your franchise? It's your first cup.
Sure.
How many jerseys did he sell?
Oh, he's going to sell a lot. He sold a lot of jerseys, but here's the thing. That's going to stop if he throws it in another clunker next season. If he disappears for a couple months and St. Louis suddenly finds themselves out of the playoffs, that's when people are going to start talking about, did the money ruin Bennington? But there were, the problem is there were red flags before they gave him the money.
Bennington had a fluke season where he performed to an ungodly, unrealistically high standard against people that he never should have beat in a net that was improperly defended, and there's not a way to force this to repeat itself.
Yeah. I don't. I think that I compare this to the Byron Defoe situation in Boston.
Yeah,
that he was all world 1 year, won a Vezina. He's the guy that won the Vezina that no one's ever heard of, or because promptly after he won that Vezina, he just couldn't repeat that success. Boston went down. They traded him. He bounced around, ended up in Atlanta, and just was never able to recapture that magic to win games again. So, plus
I've heard that one of the things with Bennington too is, and it is a realistic thing with goalies more so than any other position. Depending on his mental stability, he came into the league relatively soft. He had a good run, and he wasn't confronted a lot in that good run.
Yeah.
At some point in that last playoff series, which was a pretty brutal series for everybody involved, the Boston games were pretty rough. Whenever he came back in, I don't wonder if maybe the net got rushed and he lost that nerve and he hasn't been able to get it back. I feel like that's a realistic thing. Like I said, especially with goalies, you get a little gun shy because he was a kid whenever he went in net. It just takes one good hit on a goalie and they're scared forever.
Yeah.
That's why, you had guys like Hextall and Andy Moog and Ed Belfour. Dude, they'd come out and hit you first.
Yeah.
You didn't hit them. They hit you. Marty Turco was infamous for it. Marty Turco he liked to slash ankles more than Scott Stevens.
Yeah.
And, those guys had longevity, even if they didn't have the best save percentage. Except Belfort. Belfort did pretty amazing, but Turco did too. But they were fearless, and they were known for being fearless. And I just wonder if maybe that's something we've lost with goalies. They get the net rushed one time. They didn't have that in the AHL. They didn't have that in college. They didn't have that in high school. And that's a make it or break it for them.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, talk about this Colorado-Minnesota series. How do you see that one going?
One of two ways. I think that you're going to see why Kirill Kaprizov's going to win the Calder. I think that Minnesota is going to pull it out. Even with a top-notch Colorado team, everybody healthy, everybody rolling, I honestly think that Minnesota is going to pull out that glory season and just massive upset. Because I had Colorado to the playoffs since the beginning of last year for this year.
I had them as my Stanley Cup winner. So
they're not going to take Minnesota seriously, for one. Or did I say playoffs? I meant the Cup. I had them for the Cup. They're not going to take Minnesota seriously, and by the time that it gets out of hand, second game it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
All Minnesota has to play hard is like one game.
I mean, yeah, it could end up being like not quite exactly like when Columbus beat Tampa, but the money is going to be on Colorado in this series just because of the firepower that they have.
And I will be playing Minnesota so hard on the money line.
Mm. That's why I don't bet often.
Quote me.
All right, well, we'll check that one out. But yeah, I'm all in for that series. I think it goes deep. I think I'm still giving Colorado the advantage in that series unless Minnesota catches them and gets that home ice for the playoffs. I think that's a 6 or 7 game series, but I still favor Colorado on that one.
I think that what you're about to see in the league is we have Gretzky. Okay. We have McDavid. Mm-hmm. That's the new Gretzky.
Oh, yeah.
Kirill Kaprizov is going to be the new Mario Lemieux. I really think so, dude. I think that it's time for another one. I think you're going to have another – because, okay, we'll do it this way. McDavid, Crosby, and Kirill Ovi. You're always going to have that matchup, and it doesn't always line up. And I think that Minnesota has the sparring partner for Crosby for scoring. I really see that potential with Kirill.
I don't know. I mean, I think Kirill has a little bit of an advantage in that he is an older player. He did spend a lot more development time in Russia, and I don't think that teams took him as seriously as they should when he came into the league. He's still producing, so I mean, he's got talent. He's going to be a good goal scorer. Well, I'll wait for a second season if he's still producing like he did, does this year. Then we can start saying, maybe this is the foil to McDavid. It's a little early on this one. And one interesting thing. In fact, we're going to go into the Central Division here.
Wait, first we had one big thing happen, not last night, but the night before in the West.
Ah, yes,
Quentin Byfield has officially played his first NHL game, which it's really cool to see, young black guys moving up in the league.
Yeah.
Because that for so long that wasn't really a thing. You had a few. You had Dustin Byfuglien and
Jarome Iginla, and
the Subins, Wayne Simmons. But like for the longest time, you could name all the minority players in the league. You could name them.
Yeah,
like you could actually name all of them. It might take you one or two tries to like not miss that one third line wing that only played for a few weeks. But I think that it's cool that those guys are finally moving up, man. They had the Black Aces line in their AHL. They had the all black line. And it looks like all those guys are actually going to have pretty good potential to move up.
Nice. So in the Central Division, my hot player, and Kirill better look out because he's only 1 point behind him in scoring. Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars. This kid is actually carrying the Dallas Stars towards the playoffs.
Yes, and he's going to carry them right past Nashville.
And again, just same thing. A minority player. He's the first Filipino American player to play in the NHL.
He plays like Iggy. He looks like Iggy.
Yeah,
his play style, that super grindy power forward, net front assault. Yeah.
If Robertson catches Kaprizov in points, I think you might see something come into play on rookie the Calder Trophy, in that Kaprizov is much older than Robertson. It's 24 years old. I think Robertson's 20 or 21 years old. So you might see some voters defect to Robertson. I still give Kaprizov the because he does have more goals, but if Robertson can haul Dallas into the playoffs after where they've been, they're still wildly inconsistent. 6-2-2 in the last 10, so they're still dropping games in overtime at a prodigious rate. 12 now in the season. Dallas can make some noise. They're only 2 points behind Nashville. They've got 2 games in hand. It's going to be between Nashville and Dallas as to who gets hot going down the stretch. And if Robertson drags them across the line, I think he really does get some serious consideration for the Calder, just based on, Minnesota does have some talent. And Dallas does too, but Dallas has been missing lots of key components.
Yeah, Dallas is pretty gnarly right now. I feel bad for Dallas.
Yeah.
I think that it's unrealistic to think that Nashville is going to be able to maintain, though.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
I don't want to see Nashville in the playoffs because all they can do is get embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean, whoever gets that 4th position, it's don't get too comfortable. Yeah, you're not going to be booking your tee times May 21st, but you're going to be booking them by the end of May, because you're going to get your shit mixed by Carolina, Florida, or Tampa.
Yeah, pick one.
Yeah,
there's not even a worst case scenario in this division for that 4th spot to play. They're all pretty awful if you're one of these lower level teams.
Unless you're right, and Florida really is gassed and not they may fall off by the end of the season. I still would rather I still don't see a path forward for any 4th place team, Dallas or Nashville, to get past the 1st place team in the division.
Florida's gas, but Carolina's going to the Cup.
Yeah, Carolina's scary.
Carolina is,
that last 10, they've dropped 4 in overtime. They get the loser point, but
dude, they're such a force right now. Carolina is disgusting. If Svechnikov gets hot for this playoff series, or for the first playoff series, and he stays relatively warm, Turbo is on an absolute grind. Nino Niederreiter is looking fantastic. You got 2 or 3 guys out. You got McGinn's out. I think that he might be back in time for playoffs. If he is, awesome. If he's not, okay. They're still performing to a higher standard than anybody else on this side of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, Carolina right now is just disgusting to watch play.
And it's it's kind of a pick 'em in this division, though, because look at Tampa. Tampa's coming as well. They've won 3 in a row. They're only 3 points behind Carolina. It's whoever gets hot last will win this division and get that easy 1st round matchup. But I still really, really, really want to see Florida Tampa series.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a killer series.
Yeah, I agree.
But it also might see the sow the seeds of destruction for the team that does make it out of that, because that will be a tough series. It'll be a grinding series.
There's going to be a lot going on there.
You could be seeing some injuries that leave whoever comes, kind of a Pyrrhic victory of getting out of that round, and then only to face Carolina and get just wrecked. So,
well, and if it does go to Tampa, Florida, I mean, there are miracles on ice for sure, but to think that Florida is going to come out of that, dude, I would be hard pressed to say that Florida would win a game.
I don't know. Florida has their moments. Maybe Bob stands on his head like he did against Tampa a couple of years ago. I mean, like
playoff Bob.
Yeah, playoff Bob. Maybe that happens, or who knows? Maybe Spencer Knight comes in and pulls a Ken Dryden and a few games of NHL experience and all of a sudden thrown into the playoffs and plays out of his head.
See, I'd prefer to see him, Dave Dryden, and go to the WHA and then retire.
But in this division, who did I have as my hot team? Oh, I had Jason Robertson as my hot. Yeah.
I don't feel like it's even fair for me to give a nod. It's just anybody that's not in that top three.
Yeah. Columbus right now is just going through the motions. Towards his dead man walking. The question is, does Columbus collapse enough to cost Jarmo Kekalainen his job as GM?
I don't know enough about that one to even talk on it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they're at a firing GM point, because the problem with Columbus is it's all coaching issues, and it's not really. I guess the Laine trade was kind of questionable. But
think of when they went for it a couple of years ago and all the stuff they traded off to get into that playoff mix, and it didn't work out. And they lost all those assets after the season was over.
That's true.
That's on Kekalainen. And you can say, well, we're happy that he took the chance, but still. I don't know.
I'm interested to see how that one blows over in the office. I don't know the office stuff as well as you.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Torts is definitely dead man walking, and I think the players have just kind of they just want to get the next 5 games done, and once those are done, they're get me to the golf course. I'm ready to go. And
oh yeah, it's at this point in the season, unless you're number 4, number 5, or you're within 2 points of being number 4. Like whenever you have the 5 and 6, they're kind of close.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anybody's really not hot. They're just trying to not get hurt.
Yeah.
They understand that they're just like it's open season on whoever's head you want to pick out. And I hate that that's the way it is, but like that's how the game works.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the East. The East is coming a little bit more into focus. I know that the Rangers are coming.
They're right next to the British.
Yeah, well, they've been real hot, and the team should be on notice that I don't think any of us really anticipated should have been on notice. But the Islanders are my not hot team this week in the Eastern Division. They're 4-5-1 over the last 10. They picked a bad time to get really mediocre. Right now, they are 1 point out of 4th place. Boston, actually, they're in 4th place now because Boston won. Let me see if the Islanders are playing.
I think you just broke a 6-week.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The Islanders did win tonight, and they beat the Rangers. So that's a big win for the Islanders. They're at 65 points. Boston's at 64. But still, they can get pushed into that 4th position.
I think that you just broke a 6-week streak of Buffalo being your not hot for the East.
Yeah, probably.
So that's cool. I guess we'll give them a
Even
little.
though they're on a 3-game losing streak now. So
We'll give them a little trophy. Being
yeah.
Dave's not hot.
Yeah. Even the week that I had them as a hot team, they
The week you had them as a hot team, it was backhanded.
they were still my not hot team because it was the week that they finally won a game, and then but it was also the week that they blew the 3-goal lead in the third period. So they were both my hot and not team. So yeah, it's been a while. Congratulations, Buffalo. Speaking of Buffalo, and speaking of the Western Division as well, before
this must be a new sauce debut from our sponsor, Buffalo Wild Wings.
No, not quite. Ryan Miller, winningest American goalie ever, has announced that he's retiring at the end of the season. He's got 390 wins. I think 290 of them were in Buffalo.
Yeah, second best Buffalo goaltender ever.
Yes, easily. Although I do like Martin Biron, but Miller was far better.
Behind the one and only,
Dominic
the
Hasek,
man, the best,
the GOAT.
kind of, the GOAT head.
Yeah, was the GOAT head. But Ryan Miller was. You want to know the signal of when Buffalo really fell off and became this non-playoff team for the last decade was that game against Boston. Ironically, they played Boston tonight, but Ryan Miller goes out to play the puck and oh god, I can see his face right now. Jerk ass plays for
got thumped.
Yeah, he got wrecked and no response from the Sabres. Absolutely no response. There should have been flying drop kicks. There should have been baseball swings at this guy's head.
Somebody threw a monkey out of the bleachers and it just landed on the ice and started attacking people. What?
Yeah,
No, sorry.
Biting his face off. Yeah,
weird acid trip, man. No.
But yeah, that was the beginning of the end for the Buffalo Sabres. That the next season Miller gets traded. Before he got traded, I did see him playing in Washington and making an unbelievable save on Alexander Ovechkin down low. I mean, Ovechkin was fed a puck right in the slot. I mean, just
any save on Ovechkin is an unbelievable save.
Yeah, he waffled it away, just flicked his arm out and waffled it away. He never really regained his form in Buffalo. That 2010 run to the Olympics. He never regained that form after he left Buffalo. He went to St. Louis for a playoff run, and then he signed a big contract in Vancouver, and kind of lost that goalie position. And he's bounced around. He's now in Anaheim. His wife, who's a complete smoke show, is an actress. So
she's a hockey player's wife. Of course she is, though.
Oh, but she's an actress. She was an actress before that. I can't remember her name, but she's really hot.
Mrs. Miller. Jeez.
It's not Mrs. Miller. It's like
no. I know she kept her name. I've seen some of the stuff she's in. I would know her if I saw her. But
yeah, she's subcontinent Indian. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But I digress. But yeah, happy retirement to Ryan Miller. And now I know a bunch of dumbass Sabres fans are going to be saying Ryan Miller to coach the Sabres. God, shut up.
Speaking of coaching issues,
oh, Lord,
Patrick Waugh, of all people, the only person I can think of that I would rather have less as a coach is Wayne Gretzky, who has proven to the world that he cannot coach because he just goes, puck there, you there, puck, you, hit, net, But Patrick Waugh has decided that he wants to get into the coaching game and has hired a Canadian agency to represent him to get him a coaching job.
Do you remember the 2 disastrous seasons he had in Colorado? I mean,
yeah.
Jeez.
He has to be the most temperamental goalie.
Oh, yeah, he's a complete head case. I mean, he almost got fired by a junior team for going off on a rep. I mean, like thermonuclear going off on a ref. So
Well, the best going off on a ref I've ever seen that wasn't John Tortorella, because he'll always be the captain, is Rod Brindamore.
nah, who was the Playfair for Calgary? One where he like ripped off his tie and
Oh,
threw sticks onto the ice. That was the best. Like just
yeah, he dumped they had like a trash can of cracked sticks, and he just picks it up and like
dump
laundry dumps it on the ice. Like,
strip.
pick it up. He wouldn't let his players touch.
Pick up sticks.
He wouldn't let the players touch the sticks. He was trying to make the linesmen do it. The players went to touch the sticks. He's like, get away.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, but yeah, good career to Ryan Miller. Please don't ever hire Patrick Waugh as a coach. My God.
Hire him. Somebody. Dude, Columbus fires John Tortorella and
brings in Patrick Waugh. Oh my God.
Could you imagine how excited all the players in Columbus would be? And then just immediately that excitement falls through the floors. Patrick Waugh walks in a Castro cap with a cigar in his mouth. This is the way it is.
They'll be running to get COVID. They'll be running to get COVID and die.
I'd be running to the Players Association. You can't put guys through that much.
No,
I feel like if you went through Patrick Waugh and John Tortorella, you'd be eligible for like VA benefits.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about the North. Big question before we start talking about the North. So, the first two rounds of the playoffs, one will play 4, 2 will play 3, and then the winners will play each other. But once you get past that, the Northern Division team with the travel restrictions to Canada, do you think the government of Canada will, waive those travel restrictions for the Stanley Cup playoffs? They're not going to have fans in the building for those games. That much is pretty much guaranteed at this point.
Right.
Or do you think the NHL is just going to say, you know what, the Canadian champion, the North Division champion, is going to have to come and play their home games in the United States? I know Toronto has already talked about, if it happens, they're going to go to Buffalo.
The problem right now with Canada is I have a lot of friends in Calgary.
Yeah.
Calgary is very, very close to me as far as people go. I have a lot of friends in Calgary. Calgary is back to where New York was at the start of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Calgary is shut down.
See, Canada's getting eaten up by the new variants. That's what's happening with Canada.
They got that British variant. Now all of a sudden everything's back to normal.
Of course, we can always make the political statements about their healthcare system, but their distribution of vaccines have not been to what we do down here in the States. And so, the people there are suffering. The hockey teams are suffering. We saw it with Vancouver.
Dude, Calgary's scary though. Did you see the other day they had, or it's been a few weeks now, I won't say the other day. I'm not sure the exact timeline, but it's been long enough. Mm-hmm. The Canadian Royal Mounted Police busted up a private church session in Calgary in full riot gear. Riot gear.
Oh, I think I know which church this is. I saw the dude.
The priest is like, you can't do this.
Nazis. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just went off, man. And that's so sad that's where it's at now.
It is, absolutely.
Because it's not helping anything. If it was helping anything, then, 3 months after this all started, it would have been fixed. But
sure.
I don't know, dude. I think that the Canadian government is just going to keep getting tighter.
Yeah.
They're going to get tighter. They're going to keep blowing that balloon until it busts. And then it's going to be a big mess because we don't know what's in it.
Yeah. I do think that the Canadian champion is going to have to come to the United States.
Yeah.
Toronto going to Buffalo makes sense because there are a ton of Leaf fans over on the United States side of the border that will, as much as New York will allow, fill that arena. I'm sure there's going to be some Canadian fans that sneak across the border to go to the Leafs game, only to have to sit in quarantine for a couple weeks after they get back.
Essential travel.
Yeah. So, Toronto's going to want to keep it close, but I hear if it's any other team, the league is going to make them play at a site that is closer to their opponent. So, say it's Tampa as the Central Division champion, they play in the semis. They'll end up playing in like Florida as a in Miami or Sunshine, Florida, wherever the Sunrise is what the town is called.
That raises so many questions because you're going to have a Canadian team playing in front of people because Florida's wide open.
Yep.
So you're going to have a Canadian team playing in front of people. If they lose, do we put an asterisk beside the winner this year because of circumstance?
No, I mean, if you don't put an asterisk again, next to the Tampa win last year,
I do.
I don't. I mean, everyone played with in a really tough situation.
Okay, but then this year would be even more realistic to put an asterisk beside it because Canada didn't get a shot at equality as far as the league standards go.
Yeah, I mean, that the Canadian teams will cry that. Now, they do have to an extent a case. How
far will we let them take it? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't think I think if it's Toronto and they play in Buffalo, I'm not going to say that that's a big problem for them because again, they're going to have fans there. They're going to have plenty of their fans there. Really,
still,
if I remember going to games in Atlanta and half the crowd being Leafs fans. They could be there. They'll have a home ice advantage wherever they go. Whether it's DC, Buffalo, any of the transplant cities for sure. They'll have plenty of fans there. Edmonton gets out or Winnipeg gets out, then you can make a case better that if they're stuck playing in Florida and they no one's going to the game because Florida got eliminated. Winnipeg might have a tougher time playing in front of an empty barn, but they've been doing that the entire season anyway. So,
isn't it so weird that Winnipeg is doing so well?
Yeah, well, having been lived in Atlanta for so long and watching that franchise crap the bed every year that they were there, except for one, despite just tremendous amounts of talent on that team, Ilya Kovalchuk, Marian Hossa, that it is weird.
Those other guys,
Danny Heatley, I mean they had some pretty decent players. Slava Kozlov, Kari Lettinen was decent when he played for Kari Lettinen was. There was always two names for Kari Lettinen. It was either Kari Lettinen or Kari Lettinen, and
yeah, right.
I was so share with you when not on air.
Yeah, I think we've actually been through that one. The most impressive thing that I've seen this season, by far, there's been nothing more exciting to watch, more interesting to see, more impossible to believe. At the time of the recording of this podcast, which will be airing Saturday, tonight is Thursday.
Yeah.
McJesus,
our hot player.
McJesus, the one and only, has scored a point per period for 14.
A little bit more than a point per period. He's 15 points in 14 periods.
That's disgusting.
Last 5 games.
That's unreal.
He slacked against the Winnipeg Jets. He only got 2 assists in the final 2 periods.
Who gave this kid a cheat code? Connor McDavid is proof that we're in a simulation, and somebody has spent a lot of time playing shell.
So here's a great stat. Before this run, 5 games, only 5 games, the points race was McDavid 69, Draisaitl at 61, and guys in the 50s. Right now, it's McDavid 84, Draisaitl 67. Draisaitl's not even benefiting off of this point binge that
No, because it's all breakaways.
Yeah. And then the closest non-Edmonton Oiler on that list is McKinnon at 61 points. So he's opened a 23-point lead of anybody that's not on the Edmonton Oilers and not named Leon Draisaitl. So
who in his own right, if not overshadowed by Connor McDavid, would be one of the most desired players. He still is, but
you wanted to make a comparison, and this one I think is more apt.
Gretzky Curry?
No, Lemieux Yager.
Okay.
But although Draisaitl I think has a little more, because Yager in his early years was just I want to play and not worry about the work stuff. He had tremendous talent. He could do whatever he wanted to, but he was the kind of player that score 6 points in a game and end up at -3. So
Yeah, Yager was a special circumstance. I still think the best picture in sports history is that chick laying in bed with Yager asleep next to her.
Yeah,
you remember the one?
Yeah, where she was trying to bribe him, basically, and blackmail him, and he was like, "I don't care."
He's like, "Send it to me. I'll send it to everybody."
I slept with a hot chick. I mean, like, he didn't care,
dude. McDavid,
the girlfriend of a teammate, I think, was the thing that she was trying to blackmail him over.
He also didn't care about that because he's Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah,
you're just gonna mess with him.
Teammate cared about it either.
I think that the reason that Jagr, he didn't have a lot of fighting majors.
No,
but the fights that he did get in were evidence enough of why you didn't fight Jagr.
Yager's a tough bastard. I mean, we just got news today that Jaromir Jagr is not retiring.
He's not going to retire. The world will end before Jagr retires.
33rd professional season. This guy makes me happy because he is the last professional hockey player still playing before, that's older than I am at this point. I think Hasek plays in like men's leagues, but
Marty Turco still plays.
Does he still play?
Yeah, Turco plays in a men's league in Dallas.
Well, I'm talking about like a professional league. So yeah, Yager's 49 years old, 33rd professional season. That is amazing.
Dude, Jagr is almost as old as my dad.
I'm almost as old as your dad then.
So. My dad's 51. Yeah, but you're not playing in a professional hockey league.
I do on NHL 21. No, I'm just
undoubtedly, so does McDavid.
Yeah. Oh, check out my new Seattle Kraken jersey.
Yeah.
It's Kraken. Like it.
I still think their name will be the Sockeyes. What?
Oh yeah, the lawsuit. Well, the same thing happened to Vegas. The Army tried to sue them when they got their name because there is a regiment called the Golden Knights that they wanted to claim copyright on, which I don't think they actually had copyright. It was just that was the name of their one of their regiments.
What's the name of all their sports teams?
What's that?
The Golden Knights.
Well, yeah. So
the Army football team is the Golden Knights.
The Army football team is Golden Knights, but that's still it's not unheard of to have a professional team named the same as a college team. That I don't think that would have been a copyright claim either. But they settled that. I'm sure I'm sure the Kraken will give this bar in Seattle a nice little paycheck and thanks for playing. Oh yeah, you can use the name too. Just you can't use the same mark, crest and all that stuff. So,
dude, Jeff Bezos could obviously owns the team.
Bezos could fart and it would, produce enough money to.
That man could buy a country. Buy enough people to fill that country to capacity, start 31 hockey teams, and introduce the Kraken to those 31 hockey teams.
Yeah.
And probably still have better attendance than American hockey teams
Sure.
because everyone would be required to go in Bezosville.
Yeah. And then buy their gear from Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, he can
This is why our league
just
is superior.
buy a country and start his own thing. Like, it's not a big deal.
He is stupid rich. But yeah.
Will he ever not be the richest man of all time?
Well, it's always between him and Elon Musk. And
See,
and he took
like
a hit.
Bezos is more banked money and Musk is more asset money.
But Bezos also took a hit when he got divorced to the most attractive woman until she just got recently married in the world. Mackenzie Scott is her name, I think. But when you have that much money, you are the most attractive woman in the world. I'm just going to say that right now.
I'm seeing the most attractive woman in the world.
Who's
She
that?
never watched this podcast. The girl I'm taking to the beach.
Oh, nice. Awesome. All right. So who do you? Well, we know who we have hot in this division. There's no debate on that one, Mr. McDavid.
Yeah. If it's anybody else, you're wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Just think about what you're doing wrong. In the West or in the North, I like the Isles.
Montreal.
I think that you have picked a bad time to really go on a bad run. I mean, they're 4-6-0 in the last 10. And they're losing to teams they should lose to. I mean, they did. Their last game was against the Leafs, and that's not a surprise. But they're letting teams back into this. Calgary is only 6 points behind. Ottawa, yeah, I mean they're probably there's only 6 games left for Ottawa. But
6 more bye weeks or 6 more bye games.
Yeah.
The problem with Calgary for Montreal is they're going to end the season on Vancouver, and they're going to devour Vancouver.
Yeah.
If you're not betting Calgary, you're not betting smart. Like,
Vancouver's just going to run out of gas. I mean, we're talking again 15 or 14 games in 20 nights. There's just no team's going to be able to sustain that.
Well, and it's not that it's Vancouver. It's not that Vancouver's a bad team, even though Vancouver is.
Yeah.
That schedule is so rough, man.
Yeah. They're going to need, I mean, for them to make a realistic run, and yes, they have 5 games in hand and they're 10 points behind Montreal, but they have to win all those games. They have to have both Holtby and Demko playing lights out and in a heavy rotation. You're not going to be able to, say if Demko gets really hot in a game, you're not going to be able to go back to Demko because that kid's going to get burnt out. Or if Holtby gets hot, you can't keep going back to him because you got to give these guys rest. The players union will step in. If you think you're going to play a hot goaltender 14 times in 20 days, yeah, there'll be some major issues.
That's not fair.
No.
I mean, and usually I'm not the player's advocate by any means. That's not right. You can't do that.
No, but I mean, and Vancouver's not playing all that hot to begin with. They're 4-5-1 in the last 10. So
there's no reason to do that.
Yeah. If I'm Vancouver, I give it the college try for the next 4 or 5 games. And, if you have not made it up to, if you haven't won 4 of those 5 games, then I would say, don't shut it down. You're still a professional team. You still have to play games, but, don't kill yourself.
Yeah. Show up. I mean,
yeah.
It's like a graduation ceremony. You don't have to try to do anything. You just have to be there.
Yeah, just finish ahead of Ottawa and collect your checks and go home and get ready for the next season. So
whenever Ryan Tanev gets snatched up by the Kraken.
Yeah, that'll be we'll have to do a show before the draft and see who we think are going to go to the Kraken. But
honestly, I'm more than anything, I'm just excited to say snatched up by the Kraken a bunch of times. Because there's a visual that comes with that that's like really, really awful Technicolor 1960s.
Yeah.
Man getting snatched off a boat by a clay octopus arm. Snatched up by the Kraken.
There you go. All right, so let's talk about some playoff matchups here. Toronto, they're going to whip anybody that comes in that fourth place position. It looks like it's going to be Montreal. Even if Calgary gets hot and catches Montreal.
Even if Calgary gets hot and Winnipeg drops down, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Unless Edmonton dropped to that fourth spot, there's not a chance Toronto's not getting out of the first round this year.
Yeah.
And even then, it's questionable.
Yeah, I mean, if Montreal had the full complement of players, and they were, let's say they go into the playoffs on kind of a hot run, I would, again, Toronto's recent playoff history could factor in. If it gets in their head that they're in a tough series and it gets pushed to a seventh game, all bets are off. I actually would bet against Toronto if they're in a seventh game.
It's tradition.
Yeah,
it's tradition.
Because even if they're ahead 3-0 in the third period of a seventh game, I'm not feeling comfortable if I'm a Toronto fan. So
dude, Toronto losing in the first round is more of a tradition than cigars when you have a baby or a bachelor party or, I don't know, a christening. I mean, I know families that have less traditions that mean less than the Toronto tradition of not getting out of the first round means to me.
Yeah. Only team worse is Florida. Florida hasn't done it since '96, but Florida hasn't gotten to the playoffs quite as many times as Toronto. So
it's expected. This is, you go to Toronto, you don't win cups. That's what we want to see. We the people.
As a Sabres fan, absolutely. If they never win another cup, I will be quite okay with that.
Gary, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I still love you. It's my Canadian dad.
There you go. But that 2-3 matchup, I think, is going to be pretty good. I think that one is, like I said with Toronto, they're either going to have to win in 4 games. Or they're going to be struggling.
I feel like Winnipeg would probably win against Edmonton right now.
Not with McDavid playing like he's playing.
McDavid can't do it all. If Hellbuck is healthy and happy.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't put it against McDavid doing it all. I mean, he could. I mean, he is the kind of guy. I mean, if he gets on a streak like he is right now, game 1 starts throwing in a point a period, that's going to be a very short series, unless Mike Smith is drunk in his net and asleep, and
So did they pick up Corey Crawford?
No,
no! You said Mike Smith.
Mike Smith. Yeah.
You said drunken net. I got my wires crossed.
Oh, there we go.
Too soon?
But
alcoholism's a real issue, people.
It is. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting series. I still give Edmonton because Mike Smith has played kind of lights out for this team. I do give them an advantage here, just because, like you said, it seems like McDavid has found some kind of cheat code and now has he's broken the matrix and now can score at will. So, but I'm looking forward to that. If Toronto struggles in that first series, I'm looking forward to that just because I will laugh my ass off if the Toronto Maple Leafs lose in a division that is almost handpicked, selected for them.
I just want to see Ottawa go on a hard streak, hit that 4th slot, take down Toronto in 3 games, and then not score another goal for the next 5 years. It's all I want for Christmas, Dave.
I think it's a little too late for Ottawa.
Yeah, is it technically too late?
6 more games. They got 12 more points they can get. So
I'm sorry. Did you say something about the Blues at Thanksgiving? I didn't hear you.
Well, Montreal would have to win like 2 or 3 more games, and Ottawa's officially eliminated. But
No, that would be pretty funny though.
That would be
see
awesome.
Ottawa just a hard jump.
Yeah,
and nobody scores except for Tim Stützle.
because Ottawa. I mean, you look at Ottawa's record: 19-27-4. Take away the Edmonton because they just can't beat Edmonton. That's not a bad season.
It's really not.
I mean,
It's not much worse than
even with that record right now is not a bad season when you think about what people were predicting for Ottawa.
Yeah,
they've come to play.
And Vancouver's fallen so hard.
If Ottawa could get in the playoffs, that's a team that's played Toronto pretty tough this year.
If Ottawa could get in the playoffs, I would make it my life goal to sneak in there and cheer for Ottawa.
Sneak into Canada.
I would sneak into Canada. I would sneak into a city in Canada. I would sneak into the building, and I would stand out there with a poster board that just says "Go Ottawa," and I would get tackled by security and arrested for breaking COVID protocols.
You would. I don't want to see you getting hauled away with the Mounties.
The guards would be cool at the Canadian jail. I'm waiting to be extradited, and they would keep me updated with the scores, and that would be enough of an emotional boost for Ottawa. And then it would run out as soon as they make it to the second round, and they would just lay down. And I had this all planned out.
Another story in this division is affecting Montreal. Is Jonathon Drouin is on an indefinite leave of absence for the foreseeable future. Well, I guess that means indefinite, but
we don't know why.
Yeah, we don't know why. It's a difficult season. COVID is a beast, and it's
affected a lot of people.
It affects people differently, and I was listening to an interview with Jim Rutherford, and the speculation was that Jim Rutherford left Pittsburgh because they overruled a trade on him. He actually says that it was that he just had enough of the bubble life, and he's got a young kid at home, and wanted to it was tired of being away from family and being away from things, and he just had reached a breaking point.
Well, it was especially impactful on the guys in Chicago. We also had Andrew Shaw retire.
Yeah.
2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
You lost Taves, you lost Shaw, you lost who's the other one?
Crawford left, and then he retired with the Devils. But he never played in the Nets for the Devils in a regular season game. So Crawford.
I blame that as a COVID casualty.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of these are COVID casualties.
These old guys, they were tired of it anyway. Now
I don't know. Have you ever heard what Corey Crawford, or not Corey Crawford, but Jonathan Taves had? I don't know if it was COVID or
he blamed concussions. But I think that may have been more of a courtesy move, or more something to do with Players Association rulings for his retirement. Because if I have to go before the Players Association and I say, I'm depressed, COVID upset me, that does not sound nearly as good as I got my head hit real hard, I can't see straight, and I'm not allowed to drive a car.
Got headaches and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, especially in the cap world, to benefit your team. And Taves, of course, is a team player, but you'd have to answer to the Players Association if you.
Well, you have to go before them for your retirement check.
Yeah.
Because that's who your retirement's through. So I guess if there's any doubt at all, that if there's any speculation there might be an issue with your retirement, it's probably better to go out on the thing that literally everyone sues over or settles over, or like if you play in the NHL, you're basically
it's possible to prove too. When you think
since the Bugard situation, you basically, and I hate to say it like this because it does sound terrible, but since Bugard, you can basically say concussions make me not want to play the game anymore. Nobody's going to question you. Nobody's going to put up a fight. You are out of the league. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
we're going to send you a really big check and don't tell anybody about this.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's interesting to see what's happened with, those big Blackhawk names and now that they've come back to earth and they're not going to make the playoffs. They've wasted another year where they could have gotten rid of Patrick Kane for a huge ransom. I still think they could do that in the offseason at the draft. They could move him. But time's ticking on that franchise.
He'd be a hard sell.
Kane move?
Yeah, I think that Kane would rather retire. He's going to want such a big contract. He's going to retire.
He got 60 points this season. He's not really slowing down all that much. I would say that he's probably got another 2 or 3 good seasons left in him.
He's not, but he's a hardcore Hawks guy.
He is, but I think
he's a very emotional guy. I think that leaving Chicago would be like whenever Bobby Orr left Boston.
If you got him into a situation that he was really interested in, up and coming team with the cap space to take him on, that's going to be the big thing with a flat cap this year.
I tell you what would be cool though. Every expansion team needs at least one headliner.
Kane to the Kraken.
Kane to the Kraken.
That would be an interesting thing.
Hashtag Kane to the Kraken.
There you go.
If you don't watch sports, that would sound so weird.
Let's see. Oh, so we were talking today when you sent me that message about 15 or 14 points in 14 periods. Well, actually, it's 15, 14 periods. And I made the comment that I think he's going to be on the hockey Rushmore of greatest players of all time. It's harsh because that you're trying to fit in a team sport with so many position players. The 4 greatest, and that it's hard with hockey.
Well, it's interesting too because we're talking about a sport that went through so many different iterations of.
Sure.
I mean, one guy came up with the slap shot.
Yep.
Before Boom Boom, nobody did a slap shot. You had goalies that had wonderful save percentages because the puck never left the ice.
Yeah.
You had goalies that never wore a mask. You had so many differences in safety standards, even helmets.
Oh, I mean, like the early
the way that the visor affected
the defenseman couldn't come over
come across the blue line.
Yeah, red line. Red line or blue line?
It's red line. And also, dude, old skates.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if anybody watching this has ever tried to put on old skates. I have a pair that clamp to your shoes, and it's horrendous. But it's so crazy if you look at these old guys. Do you know why you can't buy a pair of 30s NHL skates?
No.
Because they were work boots that those guys would wear to their day jobs, that they would put their skates on the boots whenever it was time to go play.
That's crazy.
That's intense, man. So, Henry Richard, I think that one of the biggest reasons he was so fast is because he figured out how to sharpen his skates before anybody else did.
Yeah. Just these little innovations that give you the leg up.
Carbon fiber sticks.
Yeah.
Against wood, a curve stick.
Oh yeah. Before they learned how to put a curve in a stick, I mean, it was just a flat stick, so you didn't
before
have
there were
puck
illegal
control
curves on sticks.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big generation everybody forgets about. Before there was an illegal curve.
Yep. But let's talk about our all-time. Let's go forwards. Your top 4 forwards of all time. Who would be on your hockey Rushmore on the forward?
I mean, the first 3 are pretty obvious. If you don't say Gretzky,
you're wrong.
You probably haven't.
I mean, you suck at life.
Yeah, your opinion's invalidated immediately. If that's not like the Theodore Roosevelt of, the George Washington of hockey heads, then you're wrong. Lemieux, obviously. not just because of how good he was. The reason that I have so much respect for Lemieux is going out with cancer, going out with the back problems, and then coming back in the league. I think that's probably the coolest thing.
Yeah, the year
me.
he had Hodgkins, he went out in December and came back in March.
Yeah,
and came back and won the scoring title that season.
Well, and the craziest part is whenever he retired and then came back,
yeah,
whenever he retired, he had Gretzky beat. He was better statistically than Gretzky. He came back and lowered his own statistics to save the Penguins.
Yeah.
I think that people forget how selfless that dude was to do that.
Oh, I know. I mean,
that's so crazy, man.
The Penguins owed him so much money that he basically just took control of the Penguins. So.
Yeah, the ethics of Lemieux are just impeccable. You're never going to see that again.
Yeah,
that's an unrealistic standard for mankind. So we'll forget that I even said it, so we don't have to feel bad about all the crappy things we do every day.
Sure.
Number 3 has to be Mr. Hockey himself.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that you can put up a fight against Gordie Howe.
Nah.
Gordie was one of the most influential people on the sport of hockey. Gordie did more for the sport in publicity on accident. You know, and there were a few other guys that were kind of in that same vein that history's forgot. Guys like John Ferguson that played for the Canadians. He popularized dropping the gloves. You know, that was his big thing, and he did that with Gordie pretty frequently. Him and Ed Shack from Toronto, that was another huge one that people forget about all the time. But Gordie was so interesting because not only was he just pure aggression, he was also finesse.
Yeah.
In a time period that everything was clunky and cheap, and you know, hockey didn't even look like a sport. It looked like a bunch of confused guys trying to whack each other over the head with a stick. Gordie brought a lot to the table.
Yeah.
I think my other one's probably kind of controversial.
All right.
I'm gonna have to go Guy Lafleur.
The Flower, very nice.
I think that the Flower was one of the most graceful skaters, one of the most graceful stick handlers, and he was a big influence on the modern play style of hockey. He had a finesse that we see a lot today with the stick handling. That was his thing. I mean, these dekes and stuff that you see today that are so common, you didn't really see him until he came around. He kind of started that.
Yeah.
And if you like modern hockey, then, you know, Lafleur was so impactful on that. Obviously, if not, I don't think that it's really disputable between him and Bure. I don't know who else would you put up there for that 4th slot?
Man, you know, I made the comment today. He is like what 24, 25 years old now.
McDavid
is unless he gets obliterated tomorrow night by some kind of hit and he's never playing hockey again.
Pulls a Paul Kariya.
Well, I mean, Paul Kariya came back. I mean,
Paul Kariya didn't come back. The body, not the soul.
But yeah, I mean, I think I really do say that you know, McDavid this season has transcended well past, you know, Sidney Crosby, Alexander Ovechkin. He is now in an elite echelon that has no equal right now. And is it a little early to call him on the Rushmore? Probably, but you know, it's a good prediction. And you know, there are some other offensive innovators, forward innovators that you can do. You know, I don't disagree with Lafleur. You know, even Gilbert Perreault. You know, what he did. Yeah, what he did in Buffalo to set that franchise up. Um, I probably have Lafleur ahead of him, but yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with any of your four. But yeah, uh, Connor McDavid will knock Lafleur out.
So that's the problem with this concept that we've thrown out is scoring title, legend. Do we put future innovator legend, or do we put future legend, or do we put a guy that innovated the sport into a new era of the sport?
The only other player that I think that we could, and you mentioned him earlier, is Rocket Richard.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, if you want to go by legendary status,
Yeah,
he
first guy
won
to get
9
50,
cups.
yeah, and first guy to get 50 goals in in a 50-game season.
He has a trophy named after him.
Yeah. So
A
I
big
mean,
one.
any of those names, yeah, it's hard because Lafleur got a buttload of cups too. So
He did, and I would argue that Lafleur did it with, I don't know if I want to say that. The team that Lafleur was on was very good.
yes, I mean it
For
was the most dominant defensive team of all time.
yeah, you had Larry and Lanny and all those insane guys.
Yeah, Serge Savard. Yeah,
I would say that Richard did it on a better team for the time period because Montreal dominated at that time.
Of
There
course,
was no Montreal was the game that nobody wanted to listen to on the radio.
Yeah.
Actually Montreal was so good at one point that attendance at the Forum was so low because everybody knew what the outcome of the game was going to be. I think it was Fielko had said that they were telling him to just drop passes and stuff to try to give him a chance. And they still won.
And Montreal just had some dominant teams throughout their history. So, I mean, it's hard to pick which is the best Montreal team ever.
Well, the only game that anybody wanted to see Montreal play was Toronto. And if they would have played Toronto 7 nights a week, then everybody would have went and saw it. But
yeah, the late 50s Montreal teams were dominant. That late 70s team right before the Islanders took off was just as dominant. But
yeah, I mean,
in different ways. The 50s team was dominant because they were an offensive. I mean, you had Yvon Cournoyer, you had Boom Boom Geoffrion, you had I'm forgetting people here. I mean, you had his brother Henri Richard as well.
The pocket rocket.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a very offensively gifted team.
There's just a gifted team.
76 Canadians were, all defense. Then you had Ken Dryden behind it, and if you could get it past the defense, you still had a brick wall in nets.
See, and I think that the hardest time period in hockey to score would have been the 90s, the early 90s, whenever.
Well, mid to late 90s,
or the mid 90s, whenever the trap was legal.
Until the lockout year.
Yeah, until 94.
Yeah, and you think about players that scored a lot during that time.
Messier.
Messier
was the most dominant player of 94.
Solani scored quite a bit. Even Thornton was scoring quite a bit in that period. I mean, the guy's still playing. Jesus.
Well, Grandpa Joe.
Yeah. Honestly,
go down there at the bus station.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to judge because that era was so such a lockdown defensively. It was awful hockey to watch.
That's what I said. That forced slop, man. There's 3 obvious winners. It's kind of the same thing with defensemen. There's 3 obvious winners, and then there's a 4th that you can kind of rotate out and just pick which you want to prioritize. Which,
Yeah, I mean, so who do you got as your 4?
Obviously, Bobby Orr's
Of course, yeah.
right up front.
1, yeah.
There's not another name that's ever played defense that will ever mean as much as Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
And then Baby Orr, Ray Bork.
Ray Bork, yeah.
I feel like he's probably the most underrated, forgotten name of that time period.
Yeah.
And then third is kind of a throw up. You said Popman. I agree that Popman definitely should be in the run for that spot if he's not immediately. Mm-hmm. But you also had Lindros. I'm sorry, Lidstrom. Just mixing up my L's and I's. But Lidstrom was one of those guys.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Lanny is definitely one of those guys, if nothing else, for the mustache.
See, for me, I agree with the first 3. My 4th, it goes back to that 76 Montreal team. Serge Savard. I mean, he won a boatload of
Savard's a great one.
Cups. Serge Savard, one of the more dominant defensemen in the 70s.
Paul Coffey.
Paul Coffey.
Paul Coffey was an unspoken hero.
Yeah, and Phil Housley for how he innovated the position as from going from a stay at home, keep the puck out of the net position, and contribute a slap shot in the power play position.
No, that's a word. That's all word.
Orr
was the forefront of offensive defensemen.
He was that innovator that was well ahead of his time. That you didn't really have anybody following in his footsteps until you had guys come in the league like Korea or like Coffey and Housley. But yeah, it's harder with those two guys because you're also counting their scoring ability as well.
Well, and
also
another go by their defensiveness, kind of.
Well, another name that we're not looking at is Brian Leach. Brian Leach was an absolute beast and another innovator at the position. Another one of those top offensive players.
It's easy to overlook him because of Popman.
Yeah, but he did step out in his own when they did get the cup run in '94. He played, lights out throughout the '90s. I wouldn't be opposed to putting him on the Rushmore. I just think that there's that solid 3, and then you go, you can argue about the 4th.
Well, I think that this 4th pick just boils down to who can win the coin toss the most times.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's basically what it is, Like there's so much talent there that you don't. What do you say? What do you do?
Well, let's talk about goalies then.
Goalies are hard because goalie innovations came fast, they came early, and they came at the same time.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, you do have your peers. You have your you have your early players. You
can go by the amount of equipment they're wearing.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the equipment they're wearing. They're not wearing a mask. Injuries are frequent. The use of a house goaltender was frequent back then.
So, do you know the story of Jerry Cheever's mask?
Is that the one with the scars on it?
The stitches.
Stitches, yeah. Do
you know the story behind it?
Well, it just basically every time a puck hit his mask, you would get it marked up.
Jerry Cheevers is basically the guy that started the Players Association.
Yeah.
And that was what it was. He got injured in practice at Boston. He's notoriously lazy. He never wanted to practice. He did not want to practice ever. So they had a fiberglass mask made for him to cover his face because he had got injured so he could practice.
Yep.
And at that time, it was just like a consensus thing, like, you're not wearing that in a game, but we'll let you wear it in practice so you'll shut up. and play. And he got hit in the face with the mask on, and it got cracked. As a joke, they put stitches. They put a stitch. That's how the stitch got started.
Yeah.
And then one day he said, "Hey, I'm not taking this off. I'm wearing this in a game. Like, this is going to save me." And he had to fight for the right to wear the mask because they thought that it would be less entertaining to the fans if they didn't get to see blood. Which,
you already had Jacques Plante wear it in a game because he caught a puck to the face and was out for
Terry Sawchuk.
Yeah, and Terry Sawchuk as well.
Yeah, notoriously. I mean, whenever he died, his face was
mangled.
It was barely human. It was human-esque. And, I think that definitely puts Jerry Cheevers on the mountain. I think you have to put Jerry Cheevers on the mountain for that. For being so important.
Yeah. I mean,
he also was part of the Boston dynasty that had, Johnny Busick and Bobby Orr. And
I said, that's another name that you could put in the forward conversation is Phil Esposito. The influence. I mean, he was the guy that, he was kind of what I would call the Joe Namath of hockey. That guy that kind of transcended the sport as far as being a almost a sex symbol, role model, that type of thing.
Him and Tony both did that.
Yeah. But
I think part of the appeal was that you got to see them play each other.
Yeah.
You got to see, Tony stop Phil and Phil score on Tony. And that was like, you kind of picked a brother and you rolled with it. It's like back whenever Twilight was big and you had to pick a team. You know what I mean? It had that same. People love to pick a team.
Yeah.
And if you get to pick between two players as a team, that's like the coolest thing ever. Even now, Avinji and Andrei Svechnikov, we know which one's better.
Yeah.
For some reason, people keep picking E, but like it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of an interesting thing. Ken Dryden.
Yes.
Of course, Mr. Goat's Head himself.
Dominic Hasek. Yep.
No, you can't contest that.
Just on the innovation of the way he played the game alone, and the way he carried some very mediocre Buffalo teams deep into the playoffs.
Yeah. Big yeah.
Within a couple of games of the Stanley Cup in '99. Some of those games that he played, like the game against Brodeur with that 6 overtime or four overtimes, ended at 2:00 in the morning. Amazing. Even the one where we lost the Stanley Cup, that was a 3 overtime game, and was beaten due to a rule infraction. So
right. There's one more big one that I think that people forget quite a bit.
Who's that?
Trachyak.
I wanted to include him, but he never had that NHL career, and I was kind of limiting this to the NHL. But Trachyak is.
Then I'll go Cujo. No, wait.
No.
Did we not say Patrick Waugh?
Yeah, we have not said Patrick Waugh.
I have to say Patrick Waugh. Yeah, I have to. You can't leave out Waugh.
And people are going to be like, well, where's Brodeur? Brodeur
played in an era where they had the toughest defense to even get across the blue line.
Yeah. That
you can't count Brodeur because he stood there.
Yeah.
Brodeur was a fantastic goalie.
He was.
But if it was any other era, he would have just been like Cujo.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Brodeur's level. He's that second tier of good.
Yeah. So we're talking Dryden. You have Cheevers.
I really like Cheevers. I like the story of Cheevers.
I would replace
the history of Cheevers.
I would replace Jacques Plante with Cheevers. Or Cheevers with Jacques Plante.
I mean, I would go Bernie Perron over Jacques Plante. because he carried the
longevity for me with Plon. Plon had
yeah,
it
but
longer.
he carried the Broad Street Boys through
The
that
two,
entire dynasty.
the two cups, but Jacques.
Yeah, but it was more than cups, man. The Russia game.
Oh yeah,
It was one of the biggest games of all time.
but the Russians didn't leave the ice because of Bernie Perron. They left the ice because they were getting it.
They didn't score because of Bernie Perron. They didn't have any morale because they couldn't put anything in net. Not to say it wasn't Dave Schultz and Bob Kelly.
Yeah, they're too damn scared to get close to the net.
Well, Bob Schultz Dave Schultz and Bob Kelly, Battleship Bob and the Hebrew Hammer. Those are two guys that I knocked on Dave Schultz's door once.
Nice.
In Philadelphia. I dated a girl from Philly, and I was like, "Hey, do you know a guy named Dave Schultz?" And she's like, "The hockey dude?" Yeah. Like, yeah, his house is like right there. Okay, cool. So we just went over there and knocked on the door for a while.
Nice. But so yeah, I've got Jacques Plante, I've got Dryden, I got Hasek, and I've got Patrick Wall. So that's my four.
I mean, it's another one. There's that fourth slot.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the case for Perrant. You could make the case for Cheevers. I think if you were talking about the Rushmore, and we've talked about doing it for decades, individual decades. You're talking about the Mount Rushmore for a team, the decade of the 70s. Yeah, Cheevers and Perrant are on there with Dryden and.
Okay, let's take Perrant off and we'll go by a different standard. Best goalie mask design of all time is going to take the fourth slot because these guys have to have their mask or their face if they're maskless. So you got Ken Dryden's bullseye already up there.
Yeah. Oh God, there were some creepy ones.
There were. Doug Favell would give you nightmares. The wings, like winged demon thing.
Yeah.
That was spooky.
There's one that put a cat on there, like a wasn't a
Felix,
but it was
Hobbin.
No.
Who's that other goalie from? There's another goalie from the Leafs that had a cat. That was really cool. He always had like a cheetah.
Oh, who's this?
The pretzel masks were the scary ones.
Yeah, they were.
You could go with the first painted goalie mask of all time. The first painted mask was Doug Favell, and it was a Halloween prank. They painted his mask orange to make him look like a pumpkin.
Nice.
And he just rolled with it. And that mask is actually up for sale right now.
No, somebody had a skull mask. Play for Vancouver.
Oh, that was in the Flying V days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I know who it is. Oh man, it's gonna bother me.
Now we're looking for this dude's name.
Let's see. That would have been the late 70s.
Yeah. Well, I'm not finding the name.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because that's a creepy ass mask right there.
Potvin had a really good one. I always liked Potvin's open mouth cat, and Cujo's was pretty cool. But I feel like that was kind of after the era, like where guys were getting pretty creative with their masks, and you had a lot more to choose from with paint and stuff.
Oh, Gary Brownlee.
Dude, I forgot he even existed.
Yeah, Gary Brownlee had the skull mask. That was pretty killer though. I mean, it was. I would be intimidated coming in on a breakaway and then having.
Who's that guy from Cleveland? From the Barons that had the tribal mask. You remember that?
Was that Perrant? Because I know Perrant played for the Barons for.
No, let's see if I can find it. Gallows Malak.
Who?
Gallows Malak.
Oh, Jill Malak. Jill Maloche, I think it was.
Yeah, or Maloche, yeah. That thing. That one.
Yeah.
That
there's some.
I feel like that's what they base Saul off of.
Probably. That's pretty killer, though.
It's one of those that you just forget ever existed, too, because they were so relevant for the 1 year that they were around. Like, he might have wore it in a dozen games.
Yeah. And then, they got folded into the North Stars.
Yeah. And even they had Gump Worsley had a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
You had played for Hartford. Mike had the whale on his mask, like the whale tail. This is like a 4-letter. He started with the Blues.
Liut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a cool one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of cool goalie masks.
Yeah, it's hard to judge on the goalie mask.
Vachon. Whenever the Roger Vachon. Whenever they had the purple crown.
Yeah. He had the purple crown on his mask. That was a cool one too. Not quite as intimidating as say the Bromley skull mask or the.
No, but it was an era where disco was a thing and they didn't test for cocaine.
Yeah.
Something about crowns just did it.
Oh, the 70s.
We're all kings in LA, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we talked about Corey Hart. You got anything else you want to talk about?
I think we're pretty much done.
All right, man.
I'm tired.
I am too. It's late. It's past.
I
gotta go pee again.
It's 11 p.m. I don't know how you peed again since you passed that rock.
Oh man. Right before I passed it, I was peeing literally every 10 to 20 minutes.
That is one of my top 3 biggest fears is that I'll get a kidney stone.
They say it's one of the worst pains. They rank it up there with childbirth, but I've heard people say that, after having a kidney stone, no one ever says, I want to have another kidney stone, as opposed to a child. So, but you don't get the lovely product out of childbirth, as you would with a kidney stone. So, yeah.
Not if you flush it like you did.
Hell yeah, I flushed that. I want
Should have kept it, bro.
I want no reminder of this past weekend. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in and sticking with us for this hour and 48 minutes that we've been going, talking about hockey playoff matchups or hockey Rushmore. We are in the midst of changing our social media platforms. So in the next few weeks, we'll be getting a Facebook group page. We'll be getting some new locations to find us.
Wait,
we are. I'm going to be updating some stuff. I did some for my other podcast.
News. Hey guys, I'm finding out at the same time as you.
There you go. So
I just show up. Dave does all the work.
That's right. So we're gonna some of the stuff you see at the bottom are at least on my side are going to change, and where you're going to be able to consume us from are going to change.
We'll be on Spotify. We'll be co-produced by the Spit and Chicklets guys. Barstool actually just picked us up. Buffalo Wild Wings is our new sponsor. And Dave bought the Atlanta Thrashers. So
yeah, I'm bringing them back. We're bringing back a third NHL team in Atlanta. So
yeah, and they don't. The NHL doesn't know they're in the league. We're just going to kidnap players and throw them in there like it's a death match.
That's right. And then all of a sudden,
the puck explodes. When you score, it explodes.
It explodes, takes out the goalie.
We are running out of goalies.
Bring 4 or 5 goalies with you every game, okay?
We're bringing back the house goalie.
That's right. The scared ass.
We ran
house
out of
goalie.
regular goalies.
The scared ass house goalie. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you all next week on the Saturday Night Hockey Show. Thanks for joining us, Travis, and we'll have a great night, man. Travels. Have great travels, Travis.
Thank you.
Yeah, there we go.
That worked.
And we'll see everyone next week. Take care, everyone.